Good morning, Anna. Well, look, Hunter Biden is admitting to crimes here, but they're misdemeanors. 2 counts of willful failure to file taxes in 2017 and 2018. The specific, they're called, it's the criminal information that describes the charges, doesn't specify exactly how much tax Mr. Biden is alleged to have evaded, but it says he earned more than $1.5 million in each of those years and was required to pay more than $100,000 in each of those years and did not pay. It's been reported that he repaid more than $1 million in a tax bill while this 5-year investigation was ongoing. He's also agreed to admit the facts of possessing a gun when he wasn't supposed to possess one because he was addicted to drugs at the time, so he lied on a form. He's admitting to the facts of that charge, but will enter a pretrial adjudication program, so it won't go on his record.
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Clause 2A1 of Rule 9, I rise to give notice of my intent to raise a question of the privileges of the House. The form of the resolution is as follows: H-Res 503, impeaching Joseph R. Biden, Jr., President of the United States, for high crimes and misdemeanors. Resolved that Joseph Robinette Biden, Jr. is impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors, and that the following articles of impeachment be exhibited to the United States Senate.
Senator Blumenthal and I want to put everybody in this body and this Congress on notice that the threat of a use of a nuclear device by Russia is real. And the best way to deter it is to give them clarity, the Russians, as to what happens if they do that. They will be in a war with NATO.
So here's what's happening. What you're seeing in this video is surveillance from a farmer in Brown County, South Dakota named Jared Bosley. The people you see in this video are surveyors from a company called Summit Carbon Solutions. Without permission or a notice that they were even coming, these guys walked into Jared Bosley's home and into his workshop without permission and began surveying his land. And that is because Jared Bosley is one of over 80 South Dakota landowners and farmers that are facing eminent domain lawsuits from this company. In case you didn't pay attention in high school history class, eminent domain is the process by which the government takes private property from civilians for public use. Fifth Amendment to our Constitution states, quote, "Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation." The eminent domain process was upheld by the Supreme Court as constitutional in a case you may have heard of called Kelo v. New London. Instead of it coming from the government, these landowners in South Dakota are facing eminent domain lawsuits from a private company in order to build a carbon capture pipeline that will traverse 5 states. What they want to do is take liquid carbon from ethanol plants in Iowa, which is the biggest industry in the state with tons of political power, and run it through this pipeline and store it under the ground in North Dakota. That's literally it. They want to take carbon and store it in the ground. It provides absolutely no economic value except to lower the carbon emissions of these ethanol plants.
Welcome to Burn Babylon Burn. This is not a news show. It's an opinion show. We encourage you to do your own research. We do not give financial, legal, medical, or any kind of advice. Now enjoy the show.
Welcome to Burn Babylon Burn. And if you pay close attention to the WTF forum, the thing I do on Sundays, you might know this mainstay here. My friend in real life, OGDadBod. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure to be on. I'm not gonna lie. I just discovered you a few months back when you were on the forum, but I have been trying to catch up on some of your episodes. So,
oh, thanks. I always tell people, you don't have to pay attention to everything that I do. I'm just happy that people spend a little time with me. You know, it's like there's so much out there, and so many people doing a better job than I do. So, you know,
man, I can barely figure out what shoes I'm going to wear in the morning. I mean, trying to keep up with podcast is a full-time job.
Well, yeah, I'm out there though. You know, I'm out there listening to lots of podcasts in the truck. Although I'm trying to catch up. I'm trying to catch up with everything. I'm way behind after the Childerberg weekend. just a lot of other stuff was going on around then too.
Yeah. Yeah, you and your double pace on your listening.
Yeah.
1.5
Yeah.
is as fast as I can go. Can't do much more.
I do 1.5 on a lot. I can't listen to Media Monarchy at more than 1.2 because James naturally talks fast. But then there's some people I'm 2.0ing. You know, I'd say the average for shows that I listen to is about 1.7. And yeah, and Adam Curry always says that, you know, it's gonna cause you problems in the long run. You know, he's gonna make you more and more impatient and all this other stuff.
Oh yeah, well, I don't think that could be possible for me.
But I'm like a sponge. I gotta hear everything. I gotta know what's going on, and you know, it's hard. You know, Grand Theft World is a 7-hour podcast, and I'm not even trying to catch up on that. Right now, I'm just gonna pick it up wherever it's at, and catch it that way because there's a whole bunch of other stuff that I don't miss, and it's weird because I've been listening to them since their 7th episode or so. But also it's all timely stuff. It's the weekend news, so catching it that way. But yeah, to you, this was an uninteresting weekend news. It seems it is kind of slow. It's weird because this whole month has really been slow. They roll out the psyops and they slap a few things around and get outraged, and you know, after a while you just kind of become jaded to it.
Yeah, well, they got to see what sticks, you know.
Yeah. I was thinking about talking about the Rogan RFK thing and Peter Hotez, but everybody's talking about that, and that's good. So I really think that that's a good thing because, you know, that those questions need to be out in the open. But I'm not going to add a fresh take to it.
Yeah,
I just don't have a fresh take for it. Yeah.
It's good that all that's out in the open. And, you know, the veil is being pulled off, and everybody is, you know, seeing the last 3 years for what they were. So.
Yeah. The amount of people waking up, and then the fact that they're in a hard place right now. They can't really run another psyop on that level for a little while, and you can see them teasing them out. You know, I was just talking to Drew Misson last week from You're Missing the Point about the alien psyop that's coming up that they're teasing out, and then this hacker psyop, which kind of plays into what's going on right now in the Ukraine, because now Lindsey Graham is talking about them nuclear power plants. And if Russia bombs one of them nuclear power plants in the Ukraine, the NATO does have to get involved.
Yeah, well, you know, they're doing a pretty good job of seeing the next nuclear meltdown in Ukraine when they, you know, blew the dam. You know, that must be where that 6.2 billion went to. So.
Yeah, it's crazy because this whole thing, the way that the situation is that the United States has been backhandedly attacking Russia. I'm pretty sure that the assassination of Daria Dugina was something to do with our intelligence agencies. That dam bombing, you know, that they say, why would Ukraine blow up their own dam? Well, it was blown up in the area where it's their people. That they don't like, the people that they don't like, because those people would rather be a part of Russia, and they're going to be.
Yep.
So, yeah, this whole thing, they remember that whenever the Ukraine launched that missile into Poland and blamed it on Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, trying to start World War III, and you know. And that's one of the things that really bothers me right now, is that I see all these politicians acting like we're not on the brink of World War III, and they're sitting here squabbling over nonsense.
Well, you know, it's funny you mentioned that. I mean, you know, what is it? China is talking about putting a spy facility in Cuba. What did we have? 60 years ago, right? Cuban Missile Crisis. So funny. History doesn't repeat; it just rhymes.
Yeah, it's rhyming a lot. But see, those were the proto psyops. They perfected those psyops. You know, that was whenever they were introducing all of these things. I was in the break room at work today. We have a little truckers lounge at our facilities, and these guys were intently watching the news about the submarine thing. And of course, we know that the submarine thing is meant to sort of cover for the Biden stuff, which I don't think is going to go anywhere, and we can talk about that a little bit more later. But remember a few weeks ago, whenever there was that airplane that went Mach 5 or something like that over, or it sonic boomed over
Yeah,
DC.
the DC thing. Yeah, and then the plane crashed in the mountain or whatever. Yeah.
Right. So that was a situation where he lost pressure rapidly and pretty much died in seconds. So it was probably a very fast, painless death. And then you have the exact opposite situation happening in the submarines a few weeks later, and it's so much pressure so fast. And that's I thought that was interesting. But there was a whole look at this situation before it even happened. So before it happened, it made the news in a time whenever, come on, like, is somebody going down in a submarine to go check out the Titanic is so newsworthy that I can understand covering it after they all died, but before, and that reminded me of something. One of the OG psyops, your OG. So the OG psyop was the Hindenburg.
Yep.
And before the Hindenburg, they had all this coverage on it, and they made sure that all the cameras and all the radio guys were out there covering it whenever it crashed. So there's something for a psyop. A lot of things happen and there's not a camera on them at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of sounds like Waco, right? When you're talking about, making sure cameras are there. So, yeah. I mean, anybody with a basic grasp of physics or, anything like that, those people never had a chance. I mean, they were just going to get turned into, soup when everything went, boom. Or I guess that's what an implosion does. But yeah, I mean, and who even gives a shit? I mean, those people are so rich, them dying doesn't affect their life. I mean, like, the best thing to come out of this has been the memes. I mean, my God, I mean, I'm offering, free submarine trips, right? If we can get enough funding for 108 submarines. So, there are, probably 537 people that could go on those submarines. I think that would be a good fundraiser. So
make it 110. But those people. Yeah. So shall we talk about those people? So, articles of impeachment have been introduced, and Hunter has pled guilty to all of his charges, which were pretty small. None of this stuff is gonna put Hunter in jail, and we know he's a criminal. We've seen pictures of him with little kids. I mean, there's things that this man needs to be in real trouble, and everybody's acting, everybody in conservative media is acting like this is some sort of win.
Oh yeah, also, this is the gotcha moment. No.
Yeah. And so I don't think this is going anywhere because the controls are still in their control. And I want to see the right, the few that are real right, because there's a whole bunch of rhino cons. I don't want to see them abuse power. That's what upsets me a little bit about the Massey thing. And Massey has integrity, and I respect him. He's probably my favorite person in the House, next to Lauren Boebert, who was just there showboating, but I like her because she's beautiful and she's fun. She's just my favorite for that reason. But Massey is the closest to me ideologically. The thing is, I wanted him to abuse power with that shift thing. I wanted him to just he stood on principle, which is good. That it's the right thing to do for that. But Schiff's a liar. He's a criminal, and and it would have been nice to just see him out of the way.
Well, we know what happens to people who stand on principle, right? In government, they make an example out of you.
Well, yeah.
I mean, be unfair. I mean, if you're going to play the political game, I mean, when you've got that stick, beat them over the head with it. I mean, all the charges that's just a little shiny bait on that hook, right? They're just trying to get your attention away from something else. Kind of with the submarine, right? They knew it was gone on Sunday, but they drug it out. And what did James Cameron said? It was a nightmarish charade. I mean, he's got fuck you money. I mean, and he's been down there. I mean, why would people even follow shit like that? When we've got bigger, things going on, and they're so open about it. I mean, they don't even hide it anymore. That's what just angers me. I mean, because if you can't see what's going on, I mean, I don't know if there's any helping you.
Yeah, this war here we figured out basically is a massive money laundering situation. Here's another story that's come to fruition this week, is that Sam Bankman-Fried's not going to get in any real trouble.
Yeah. Slap on the wrist and go back to what you were doing.
Story as old as time. He assisted the regime in laundering our money. And that's the thing, is we're being looted. That's what's going on.
Yeah.
We're the ones that are being looted. Those guys are doing it, and we're sitting here watching them. I'd really, really love to see this impeachment go somewhere, but I'm realistic and enough to know that it's not. And I know that everybody on all of these Blaze, Daily Wire, all these other conservative shows are gonna be like, oh yeah, they finally got him, they're gonna get him, and all this, and it's just more the wrestling match.
Devil's advocate on that, right? I mean, okay, let's say they do get him, and they put, okay, I guess, does that mean Kamala's next in line? I think that's the way that they, may be able to get rid of him and get somebody like Whitmer or Newsom in there. I know everybody's talking about RFK, but the Democrats aren't going to allow debates. I mean, what? Primary.
If they're going to have,
I mean, so what better way to get rid of Biden than just they impeach him, you just get to go away, you get to live with all your protection, and you do your thing. You'll be taken care of. You just got to step aside. I mean, I'll be honest, I am surprised he is still up and moving with his, as much unraveling as he's done in the last year. I mean, it's a miracle that he can, walk and, talk and hold anybody's hand. So,
well, everybody knows that it's not the real Biden.
Well, if it is, he is hopped up on so many. I mean, he's got the good drugs. I mean, whatever CIA super drugs. I mean, he is, I don't know if it's a speedball or whatever he's on. I mean, it's some good shit now. But
well, we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. You weren't there for that WTF forum, but Harley Pasternak, he talks about all the access that he has to designer drugs and really rare drugs that do all kinds of interesting things. And when you get that high up, that high of a level, and you have an important role to play for the regime, then you're going to have access to everything, stuff that we never even heard about.
Well, just like they did to Reagan in his, second term. I mean, there's a lot of people, and it's sad to see. I mean, somebody like that they need to go home, eat ice cream, live out their days with their family. It's really cruel. Whoever's pulling the strings, whether it's Jill or the Obamas or, whoever's back there. I mean, it's really sad to see what they're doing to him. I mean, because he's a patsy. I mean, there's nothing else you can really say. I mean, because it's like, oh, you get to see him on TV and it's like, oh, what is this moron going to say today? So.
Well, he's really dangerous because he'll say and do anything they tell him to, because he doesn't have any opinions of his own. He's just going to do what the regime tells him to do. So he's got probably I think it's been estimated that it's Obama and Susan Rice in his ear all the time, telling him what to do, what to think, and then he's got other handlers I'm sure. And I bet it's a lot of fun telling him, no, there's not a person there. Stop shaking their hand. Stop shaking the hand with the invisible man. There is not a person there, you know?
Well, I guess his latest one is he wouldn't let go of the Indian prime minister's hand. So maybe he's just got a hand thing. I mean, maybe that's his fetish. I mean,
sniffing's his fetish, but
well, yeah. I bet he's hell on a damn scratch and sniff. I mean, they better keep him out of Belk or, the mall.
Yeah, for sure. It's so weird because I've been to a lot of malls lately, just circumstantially where I end up and I'm not driving. I've been in malls, and it's weird to see the health of the malls. I think this is weird because malls were dead for a while, and I think they're coming back in a big way. It's just strange thing,
Yeah, I think retail at a local level will come back, but I think a lot of the big chains and the big box stores, all that will go online. I mean, it'll be you can go try something out, and then they'll drop ship it to the store or to your house. But yeah, I think small business is coming back because people do see the writing on the wall. If you can't go down to the local hardware store and get it, I mean, let's be honest, you're probably screwed if you really need something. So, you have to buy local now, especially with all the supply chain issues and all the I don't know if you call it price gouging, but we'll just call it price adjustments and inflation. So,
Yeah, it was just cool seeing a mall, and it seeming like whenever I was a kid and being at a mall and people just being everywhere shopping and getting into things and everything like that. Of course, I'm being antisocial. I was listening to my podcast while I'm walking around wearing this headset, listening to my shows and ignoring the salespeople and all that other stuff, because they will jump on you if they think they can sell you something. So if you have your headphones in and they're this obvious, it'll be a real deterrent.
Sales scum. That's what I like to call salesmen or salesmen, whatever they are. I don't know. I mean, hell, you can be whatever you want to be. So
I'm not mad at them for trying to sell me something. It's part of their job. It's what they were paid to do. I just don't want anyone to try to sell me anything. So I just give them every deterrent that I can, because I just want to see, I want to go look at a couple of shoes and, things like that.
Must
and
be getting the new Yeezys or Jordans, right?
Yeah. I'm probably going to get some Yeezys, you know how I feel about Ye. Actually, that's kind of a joke, mainly because Ye's played into a lot of this stuff, and he's never accounted for that. It's like, you're getting screwed over with your family situation. They took your kids away. You had this handler who's filled you with drugs and is the handler of all of these other people that have gone off the deep end. And so, a lot of that stuff makes sense, but then, the Balenciaga story broke the same week, and he goes on Alex Jones wearing the Balenciaga mask. And then he even defends Balenciaga, and like, come on.
He knows who's paying the bills.
Yeah. Yeah, that quote's come up a couple of times today. Upton Sinclair, who I don't like because he's a commie, but Upton Sinclair said that, let me get the exact quote, just because I do have a tendency of butchering quotes. I'm just one of those kinds of people. I end up, paraphrasing instead of saying the thing like it was supposed to be said. And of course I can't find it. Did I take a screenshot of it? Oh, it's here in downloads. There it is. Okay. You can't make somebody understand something if their salary depends on them not understanding it. Many such cases. Did you hear me there? Because
I did.
Okay. I did. Sometimes when I'm away from the screen, it cuts off. But
I was gonna say, no, it's not you. I've got shit internet.
But yeah, so if their salary depends on them not understanding, they'll never understand it. And this is one way that they control people. Money is a big way that people are getting controlled.
Oh,
but
yeah.
then there's certain people that can't be bought or have already made enough money, and they find other ways to control those people.
Yeah, I was going to say that topic did come up at Childerberg. We're too comfortable, right? We've all got stuff, houses, kids, wives, 401ks. A lot of people can't or won't make the hard decision because they've got so much riding on them. Just, shutting their mouth, keeping their head down, and just, continuing with the group think, even when they know it's wrong,
Yeah. There's so many luxuries out there. There's access to nutritious food. Not that most people would rather eat garbage than nutritious food, but there's plenty of garbage out there too. We have access to clean running water all the time. So much clean running water that we pee and poop in it. That's it. Really, to third world countries, the abuses that we do to clean running water, that would make them sick. Just what in the hell are you doing with all this clean running water?
Clean, I think, is a subjective term. It is running. So,
well, yeah, I've seen pictures of gross pipes, and I know that they do the additives. They do fluoride, they do chlorine, and things like that. You can fix all that once it gets in your house. I mean, I run off well water at my place, and I like that. It does have kind of a farty sulfur smell, but that's just how well water is. But yeah, just the amount of water that we have, and just air conditioning. I only have one window unit at the moment, and it's super summer in Texas right now. The other night, I left to Laredo the other night at 10 o'clock, and it was still 110 degrees.
Fuck that.
Nope. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, no. My face looks like this because it was 80 today, and I had to pull with a skid steer all fucking day. So, yeah, no. Y'all can keep that hot weather.
Okay. I mean, that's a thing though. I always see the people that they'll move to Texas in the wrong time of year. They'll move to Texas in the winter or fall or something like that, and it's so great. And then summer rolls around. It's so hot. Yeah, it's Texas. This is how it's meant to be. I'd rather be hot than cold. It's just how it goes.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that. When your clothes freeze to you, that's a problem, and I will never forsake hot weather. So.
Yeah. Speaking of, we were talking about this one. This is one of our topics, is out in South Dakota. That's a place that gets really cold. They're talking about using eminent domain, but this is a corporation doing it, and I really don't understand how that's working, other than the fact that the politicians are protecting this situation. They allowed this company to come in, and they're doing it for some environmental issue. And this right here, the environmental nonsense, is really how they're going to ratchet down the cage on us. That's how they're going to push the no cars, 15-minute cities, all the other stuff. It's how they're going to push everything.
Well, the South Dakota thing, I was driving through and I started seeing all the pipeline, signs, and I'm like, oh shit. I heard about this, and man, I'll be honest, I would rather deal with government because I think it's just, the bureaucracy, and it's just so ineffective, than deal with a corporation, because I do think that corporations are fucking evil. At the end of the day, it's about money and paying the shareholders. It's not about their mission statement or anything. That's all it is. It's a power and a money grab. So when you say you don't, maybe understand how corporations can do it, well, I mean, isn't that socialism, right? I mean, when corporations are tied in with government, I mean,
no, that's Mussolini fascism, as it's defined, as whenever the corporation and the states merge. And yeah, and we have that in so many ways, but we don't, you know. But yeah, there's a big problem with that. Just going in and walking around on somebody's farm, damaging their crops. They were going into buildings on this guy's property.
Well, they're lucky they're still walking around, especially in that part.
Right.
You know,
Right, but I mean the
have heavy equipment and can dig holes.
The governor's in on this.
Oh yeah.
And all the politicians from Iowa are in on this. And you know, and she, you know, Chrissy Nome she was one of the best governors during the COVID stuff, and that's because she said that people can make their own decisions, and I'm not going to get in the way of these people's rights. And now for the environment, for some corporation, what kind of bribes is she getting? What's going on there?
You know, I'm a big fan of The Sopranos, and there's another show, Jersey. It's in New Jersey, but you know, basically they were talking about they were going to get the money for the highway funds, and they owned all the land. Well, I bet if we did some digging, a lot of these people either have interest or land that's going to get bought. And I'm sure they're not going to get the eminent domain 35 cents on the dollar price either. They're going to get whatever federal funds or whatever, you know, funds are allotted, because my understanding with a lot of the eminent domain thing is it's kind of first come, first served. The quicker you settle, the more money you're going to get. Because once the funds are done, they're done. They're just going to come take your shit.
So you think that this is going to turn into anything? Do you think that this could turn into a Bundy kind of situation?
I don't. I mean, I'm not going to say I would like to see that. You know, I thought there would have been a lot more standing up for a lot more serious issues. I mean, I won't get too far into it, but there's a pipeline that's being put through one of my family's properties, right? And, you know, you can do your little negotiating, but, you know, it's either submit or die, right? That's how things work with government. So I don't think there's the will or the coverage. And I don't see that this is going to attract the people that Bundy. Now, there is a situation, I think, in Vermont or New Hampshire that could turn into the next Bundy ranch, but I don't see many people standing up for that either.
It also could go to a Heemeyer situation. You know, they could continue to put pressure on these farmers, and they won't have it eventually. You know, I mean, he got backed into a corner and showed them. You know.
Yeah, well, you know, heavy equipment aside, they do have access to fertilizer and diesel fuel. So I don't think I would want to piss off farmers, right? We can see how that's worked out in the Netherlands and France. I mean, those people can't do anything. They don't have any way to defend themselves. All they can do is get out there and raise hell. So I don't fuck with people who feed me, right? I am nice to waiters and waitresses. You know, I'm not going to piss off the guy that's raising the steak or the tomatoes that I'm eating. So.
Right. Yeah, that's a big thing. So this also plays into that. So not only does this play into the future of the way that they're going to lock us down, because they're doing this to offset carbon, which is just, come on. But then they're also eating into farmland, and that plays into the whole food chain reaction psyop.
Yeah, and then they're you know, all the 2030 goals and 2035 goals. I mean,
people aren't going to willingly eat the bugs. They have to create a circumstance for it.
Well, you know, if it's eat the bugs or die, I mean, you know, that's a pretty easy choice for most of us.
Right. I mean, bugs. You know, you watch Bear Grylls, and you're like, okay, well, you know, this guy just ate a big grub on television, you know, to show you that that there's certain things out there that you can eat, but subsisting off of it, I really just don't. I don't want that reality. That's a nightmare.
Well, the difference in a nightmare and what we're dealing with now is a nightmare. Eventually, you wake up. This just keeps going on.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is it's so many agendas at play. It's just such a weird time, especially a weird time to be broadcasting.
I can imagine.
Part of the reason that the show is called Burn Babylon Burn is that we're watching this empire that you could easily relate to Babylon burning all around us, and the fun thing in Revelation is it's the Babylon's burning and everybody's rejoicing, and then there's a new system that's much worse. So there's always something worse waiting in the wings.
Oh yeah. Well, they create the problem and they create the solution. That's the biggest thing I have problems with is, doesn't matter what the issue, right, left, center, people just scream for more government because they don't want to take any responsibility and do anything for themselves. They just, oh, we're going to abdicate all responsibility and pawn it off on somebody else. Continue stealing my money, steal my neighbor's money, steal their land, kill them if they don't agree, or throw them in cages.
Yep. And we really have to know the score. And I don't think a whole lot of bluster is going to do anything anymore. And there was a time for that, and it was cute and everything. But unless they're going to be successful at this, and you're right, even if they did get rid of Biden, they'll have, I don't think they're going to run Kamala. I really just think that they're going to push her out of the way, and they'll just have somebody worse waiting right there. And that's what it seems to always be. Yeah. I mean, messy times.
Yeah, it's a shit show. I mean, you don't even need to go to YouTube and watch comedy clips or go to a comedy show. Just turn on the news, see what they're feeding you today.
Yep. The clowns will perform for you, and we can sit back and watch and throw peanuts at them and see what happens.
Well, my favorite clown was Let Go. I was a big Lamone fan. Always enjoyed seeing his clips.
Who is this?
Oh, Don Lamone.
Oh, okay, Don Lamone. I'm sure he will be back in some capacity. He's not gone from television forever. Somebody will pick him up, and you'll get that nonsense.
Well, if Mad Cow and the old press secretary have jobs, he'll be back in the game. He just got to pay his dues.
Yeah, he was irritating everybody around him because he kind of turned into he was probably a prima donna the whole time. But
no, I can't see that.
his ratings were good enough for him to be a prima donna at first, and then they just started tanking the more ridiculousness that he got into, and then I guess they decided he was a liability, especially whenever he was talking to Ramaswamy. That was maybe a week before he got fired, that he was sitting there and doing this whole thing that you're a different color, but you're not black, and this is all this other stuff, and I got more race points than you do because I'm black, and yeah.
But Andy's gay, so he's he's getting on that super minority status. He just needs to come out as like trans or transracial, something like that.
Yeah, just rack them up. Hey, you can be anything you want to be now. It doesn't matter if you're right. Yeah. I mean, I could currently, looking the way that I look, identify as a woman, and that's just fine. I mean, you saw Samuel Brenton, the nuclear disposal guy, who's gonna have a great time in prison. He's gonna have a grand old time. He's a
I
dom.
have
He'll
to
do
bite
okay.
my tongue on that one. I really do. Like, I can talk off air about a few of those things, but man, that grinds my fucking gears. That somebody like him is in charge of anything relating to the nuclear industry.
But Samuel Brenton identified as a they them, and wore lipstick and dresses, and that he stole. But
well, if he doesn't have a smoking habit now, he'll have one in prison. He'll be probably be setting up a barbecue shack as soon as he gets in there to be smoking meat.
yeah, I'm sure he's actually excited for that. But the thing about him though is that he was the person in charge of all these puppies who are adult men who wear leather clothing to look like dogs, and he's a puppy trainer, right? Yeah. And I don't think he's going to be the one in charge in prison. I think he's going to be
he's going to be on the
submissive one.
Short end of a long stick.
Yeah. Exactly. So, but maybe that's what he always wanted.
Yeah, I mean, free housing, I guess the retirement plan isn't horrible, right? You get 3 meals a day, free housing, get free workout facility, your laundry's done for you. I mean, I guess it's not that bad a gig, all things considered.
Well, from what I know, because I know a couple of women in prison, and they are ridiculously pent up, and so I know that basically prisons are just gay orgies.
Well, if you identify as a woman or a man, I guess that makes it straight. I still haven't figured that shit out.
Yeah, I mean, it's all pretend if you play pretend the right way, but only one side gets to play pretend.
That's right.
You have to be part of the woke religion in order to play pretend. And that's one of the reasons that it appeals to so many people. You can be whatever you want to be.
Well, it's like we talked about the Disney adult, right? It's like being a perpetual child, right? You just never grow up. You get to live out your fantasy. You can live in fucking imaginary land, and nothing ever happens to you because you're protected, right? Instead of your parents protecting you from bad shit happen, now it's the government, right? Oh well, yeah, you can go be half naked in the street and touch kids and burn down churches and oh well, even if you're not the most qualified for the job because you meet all these quotas, well, you get it. Let's see how that's working out for those 5 people in that submarine. Oh shit, it didn't. Or South Africa, right? Look at all the fucking problems they're having with their electrical grid, basic services, water, sewer. They finally hit Mandela's goals, but sure isn't a whole lot of a country left, right?
Yeah, it's a total mess. There was Pete had on his show a couple months ago some guys that live down there that are gonna stay. They're gonna stay through all this stuff, and it's where they're from. It's their culture, and it's getting destroyed by everything around them.
Yeah, the sad thing about all that is, everybody has their line in the sand. The problem is the only one that can draw that line is you. So, I guess you got to buckle up and hang on because it's going to be a hell of a bumpy ride. I mean, the farm murders, everything that's been going down there for the last 10 or so years, I would try to flee to anywhere. The problem is you're running out of places to flee,
Yeah, where's there to go even, the only place that I can think of that's any good now is Russia.
Well, Russia, I mean, as much as I hate to say it, I mean, this kind of is the last bastion of freedom, right? I mean, compared to the rest of the world. I mean, we have a whole lot of illusions of freedom and safety. But I mean, when you compare it to somebody living in Guatemala or sub-Saharan Africa or the Middle East, I mean, this is like heaven on earth.
Well, yeah, the whole plot is that you've got to make a ton of money, and none of this stuff will really affect you in any way if you're making a ton of money. Because, you know, even if they make it illegal to have steak, for instance, then you can have your own cows. You know, you can have your own this or that, and everything is yours because you set it up. But or you can just buy somebody's stuff that you can buy just about anything at some point. At some point, people are not going to sell, but at this point, you can just buy up whatever other people have.
Yeah, as Carlin said, it's a big club and you ain't in it.
Right. And that's it's funny because we know the money's fake and they keep printing it and screwing it up and the bill's going to come due at some point. We're going to find out that everything costs something.
Well, speaking of bills, dude, did you see, I think it might have been Turkey and Greece last week, raised the interest rates? I think Turkey went up to like 15%. So,
yeah, well, that's kind of smart because they're taking the hit now instead of later. Because the sooner you take the hit, the less it's going to hurt.
Yeah, just like cancer, right?
Yeah,
you can cut it out, or you can just see if it gets any better. It ain't going to get better.
You keep putting it off, pushing it away whenever it really hits, and it really hits at the point that it really has to, and then once it hits so much harder.
Yeah, I guess I've been waiting for the rug to be pulled out since about mid-2020. I just, the free money era that was under Obama and Trump, one day it has to come to an end. And, the longer we prolong this, the worse it's going to get. I think there's some, division between some of the, Powell and whatever her name is. I think some of them are trying to keep the dollar alive, right? They're trying to maintain that reserve status.
Jerome Powell is trying to save the dollar. If y'all want to know more about that, listen to Tom Luongo, his show Gold, Goats, and Guns. Check that out because he has a much more optimistic view of this thing, and still it's going to hurt. It's just more optimistic because he believes that Jerome Powell is going to keep Janet Yellen from doing all the terrible things that she intends to do.
Yeah, no, you can't fight the Fed.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll see how it plays out. I mean, it's I would think that he's in a dangerous position as well if he's upsetting those people, and then the World Economic Forum really wants there to be two powers, which means it'll be two currencies, and that was kind of set up recently with the OPEC allowing Chinese money.
Yeah.
So, and they didn't exclude U.S. money, but at this point, I think I was just hearing that more people or more countries are using Chinese money than United States money for the first time ever. Yeah, this thing's a mess.
I was going to say, if they thought American nationalism and colonialism was bad, wait till they get a taste of China.
Right. I mean, nationalism would be the solution, really. But that it's such a bad thing because all the wokesters hate it. The globalists hate it. So anytime you say nationalism, that automatically means that you're a bigot whenever it really doesn't.
Yeah, man. Strange times we live in. I don't see how anybody can celebrate the 4th, even be a nationalist, I mean.
Well, no, we should be embarrassed on the 4th.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's like our forefathers. I've been doing my ancestry lately, and seeing men that fought in the Revolutionary War, and then we're sitting here, watching a post-constitutional America. This is just we're continually circling the train, and we're just watching it happen right there in front of us.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to put me in the box and I've got to play by your rules, I mean, America, as we know, it's been dead for a long time. We're watching the wake's over, and we're putting the body in the ground, and we're watching dirt get dumped on it, and they're about to put the headstone down, and it's going to be over.
Well, yeah, I think the salvo for it really was the Civil War, because we were forever changed after that, and turned into that was proto-globalism right there. That was before we started exporting all of our resources, and so everything is made somewhere else, and we don't know how to do anything anymore at this point. It's a mess, but it was all set on that trajectory whenever the states were forced to get along, whenever they had differences. And now we're in a situation where we're forced to get along with so many people that we have a lot of differences with. So I think things would probably be better if if the South had won.
Well, I'm not gonna go that far. I will say, even politically, it's really hard to nail me down. I know we've talked about it. I was kind of bugging people at Chile about it. Wanting to talk theory and shit. And I think I've realized I am pro balkanization. Right? You go live with your people. You go live with where you can be free and be who you want to be. Just leave me alone. If Texas has got good taxes and it's very free and there's job opportunities, go to Texas. What you do in Texas shouldn't dictate everything else. So,
right, that's how it's designed. I'm in California right now, and California has such a big voice on what happens to everybody else, and their whole system is just wacky. I just went to a vape store, and the guy's like, I don't know what we're gonna do, because I was talking about the flavor thing, and he's like, the whole industry really has to change, or we're all going to be put out of business. And it's one of those businesses that it's been around for, I guess, about 10 years, but it blew up. And now what are these guys going to do? There's a vape store on almost every corner in California. Not going to be anymore.
Well, they'll find a way around it, right? People will continue to find a way to make money. But let me ask you this: in California, have they banned menthols? Because I know that was a big thing. Is that nationally? I mean, I'm pretty sure I can still go buy menthols, but I may just be imagining things.
No, it was just in California, and I don't know if it's fully done yet, because I haven't checked recently. But I was in a store a couple months ago, and they were blowing them out. They were selling them for cost.
I bet a lot of kids' scholarships got funded that day with the lottery too.
Yeah. Yeah, there's trying to get rid of it, and and the thing is if I choose to do something detrimental to my health, then that's my choice, and it's really no one's business but my own. I mean, I'm not pulling milkshakes out of fat people's faces. I'm not doing that. And
well,
I don't think anybody
guess you
should.
can make the argument with insurance that it is somebody else's business, right? Because the cost gets passed along. But
yeah, that whole system is so screwed up too.
That's one thing I don't understand, how I have to have insurance, right? Well, I don't think I have to anymore, but at least not health insurance. But God forbid I don't have car insurance and drive on the roads.
Yeah, I just ignored it, and nothing ever happened to me. But now I have insurance because I have it through my job. But there was a time whenever I didn't have a job that was on the books, and so And
Well, you self-insured, right? That's another way of having insurance, right? It's kind
yeah,
of like having a high
self-insured.
deductible. I mean, kind of like, I don't technically, I just have a major medical policy at the moment. I don't have, the full coverage deal. I mean, and it's not that unreasonable. I mean, I think that whole insurance thing is much ado about nothing. It's not like I'm 85.
Yeah, just requiring people to buy stuff that they don't want and sometimes don't need. It was the wrong solution to the problem, and it's basically the solution that was crafted by the lobbyists and Mittens Romney. So there you go. I mean, Obama basically copied Mitt Romney's plan, and they ran against each other on the plan. That was the most silly show that we've ever. It was just goofy, but that was just the beginning of it. It got way more ridiculous after that.
The uniparty strikes again.
Yep. So you got a new show.
I do. I am like many of the people out there. I have my own shitty little podcast. So right now, I am only on YouTube. I think you can search OGDadBod Whole Lot of Nothing podcast. And if I've got my tags right, it might pop up. But yeah, who was it? I think it's the How I Embrace the Suck guy. He said, once you kind of get past that 7-episode thing, you should be able to do it. I've actually really enjoyed sitting here and ranting to a camera. I'd have guys I used to work with or buddies I call, and they'd be like, man, it's just another bitch session with you. So, like many people, I'm just going to use talking to the camera or the microphone as, a form of therapy. So, I guess that's cheaper than going to a therapist. And, hey, I get to create a incriminating digital footprint while I'm at it. So.
Exactly. I'm in the exact same boat. That's what this is. It's just, I see all this stuff. I can't really do anything about it. So I got to rant about it. And yeah, I mean, it's therapeutic for sure. So thanks if you're listening to me. Thanks for being a part of my therapeutic process there, and go help OGDadBod out with his therapy, because he has things to rant about as well.
Yeah, and I'm also on Twitter. I think it's OGDadBod1. But yeah, that's about it. I'm on. You could probably find me somewhere else, but that's about the only place I'm really active or doing anything right now. So.
I thought you were big on the Instagrams.
Well, I enjoy it. I mean, that's kind of where I get my Twitter's where I go to get my laugh, and then I go for my news and memes and entertainment throughout the day is on Instagram. But yeah, I'm not a big Meta fan. Oh, before we leave, Zuckerberg or Elon, who's going to win the cage match?
Man, this is funny because this is something that I joked about years ago whenever it was Elon and Bill Gates getting into it with each other. And I suggested that they create mecha suits and fight each other in their, and have big, Zord battles or whatever. That's what they're called, the Megazords, right? Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
I think, yeah. I didn't watch it growing up, but I know.
I hardly watched it, and that is my era. So I hardly watched it, but it was. I think I watched the end of most of them because it was on right before Batman, and Batman was the thing to watch then, though. But I was usually while that was on, I was playing. So,
you were probably a White Ranger fan, weren't you?
No, I didn't really pick a Ranger that I liked. Green's my favorite color, and then the green guy was the most badass. So, yeah. But yeah, that's just how that went. I didn't really care about the characters though, and the acting was pretty bad.
Oh man, they were probably higher than a kite through that whole thing.
Yeah, I'm sure. But yeah, that's how it went. We would probably get home from school, play around for a little bit, and then go watch Batman because Batman was the best animated show at that time. So at least. And I think it still holds up. That Warner Brothers Batman from the early '90s.
Well, I got Zuck. I think he will kick Elon's ass.
Really?
Yep. Yeah. Well, have you seen the jiu-jitsu stuff with him?
Yeah.
Like
South Park.
Name and, oh yeah. Yeah. No, I've got Zuck, man. As much as I don't like him, gotta go with the guy who's
he's already a robot. So if they put themselves in mecha suits, then it's like a robot inside a robot.
Well, it's like who's got the most autism, right?
Yeah. Well, I hope that it happens, and and I don't care who wins. I just want them both to get some good licks on each other, just so I can I'll celebrate no matter who gets hit in that case.
Amen to that.
I guess I prefer Elon a little bit more, but he's fake though. I looked at a Tesla today in a parking lot, and I roll my eyes every time I see those things. But it was not only a Tesla; it had a SpaceX logo on it. This is one of his true believers.
Big baller.
Yeah. But let's see. So you gave everybody the links. You want to throw those out there one more time?
Yeah. OGDadBod, Whole Lot of Nothing podcast on YouTube. Once I figure out Spotify, it'll be there. And on Twitter at OGDadBod1. So appreciate it.
Rocking. Yeah, man. Yeah, I'll check it out for sure. And if you want to find me, libertylinks.io/TheDoomKitchen, or look under whatever's down there, and you'll probably find all the links if you are listening on something you don't like to listen to it on, and listen to it on the thing you do like to listen to it on. And then I'll help OG get onto other platforms, because YouTube will go away.
I'm waiting for it.
Yep. Thanks for listening, y'all.